Hey guys, David Giller here, and today I want to talk to you about creating data entry forms in Salesforce. For those of you who don't know me, I'm David Giller. I'm a Salesforce consultant, user group leader, MVP, and all-around Salesforce geek. I've been living and breathing all things Salesforce for over 10 years now. There are lots of apps out there that can help you create data entry forms, allowing you to push the data into Salesforce upon submission. Let's talk about this for a minute because I want to share with you my perspective and my recommendations on this topic. First, let's talk about what types of use cases make sense for using forms with Salesforce. In what scenarios could we use forms with Salesforce? There are actually quite a few that are incredibly common. Let's talk about a couple of them. There's contact us forms, sign up for our newsletter forms, customer satisfaction surveys after a ticket has been closed or after a deal has been closed, customer satisfaction surveys. Similarly related, NPS surveys, Net Promoter Score surveys, where we want to gather some feedback from our existing customers. Customer service ticketing. This could be internally, particularly for large organizations where someone has maybe a computer issue, a software issue, maybe even an HR issue, maybe something related to submitting expenses within the organization. So you can have a form where internal employees are accessing this form in order to submit the ticket and having it get routed to the appropriate person. Similarly, customer service ticketing surveys can also be done externally, where our external customers are submitting tickets about issues that they're having with the products or services that they've purchased from us. There's also event signups. Event signups can look like RSVPs for trade shows, for webinars, for events, for networking events, for any kind of event that your organization is holding. Nonprofits in particular can use all kinds of forms to capture online donations, where we're not only capturing information about the donor and how much they'd like to donate, but also processing their credit card at the same time to actually capture the entire transaction and pushing it directly into Salesforce. Nonprofits also commonly use online forms to capture volunteers, people who visit their website and say, yes, I'd like to volunteer for an upcoming event that you're having. How about program enrollment forms? Many nonprofits have actual programs, services that they provide to their constituency, and people can enroll in some of these programs. Schools in particular, similar to nonprofits, but actually quite different as well, schools can use forms for a lot of scenarios. We have student enrollments, registrations, applications. We have tracking attendance, where a teacher or a teacher's assistant can access a form, see all of the students that are expected to be in the class, and simply tick off who was there on that particular day. I don't mean tick off as in piss them off. I mean tick off as in checking, confirming who actually attended on that particular day. How about logging disciplinary actions by a guidance counselor? How about teacher evaluation or observation forms, where someone is coming in to observe a particular teacher, gathering some information, feedback about that particular teacher that they're observing, and filling it all out on an online form? How about parent-teacher conference sign-up forms or permission slips before a school has a trip? You need to gather permission slips from the parents instead of submitting it all on paper or having a bunch of Google forms that end up having Google form entries that end up creating one big old Google spreadsheet. You can simply have the permission slips digitized using Salesforce by having all of the information feed directly into Salesforce. How about updating emergency contact forms? In schools, this is an incredibly common use case. Let's talk now for a minute about the features that are most commonly found in various form tools. The most basic form tools have the following. You can have text fields, numerical fields, address fields. You can have currency fields, date fields, rich text fields. You can have radio buttons. You can have multi-selected checkboxes, and you can have drop-downs. Hitting submit sends the data into Salesforce. That is the most basic form tools out there will provide you, at the very least, they should provide you that tier of functionality. The better form tools have additional features on top of that. What are we talking about? Entire sections that are completely conditional, meaning that as you're filling out the form, based on the responses that you're giving, other sections, so it could be a section or it could be just a particular field, a question on the survey, that is either hidden or visible based on the responses that were provided up above. Then we have the customization options associated for the entire look and feel, where the better form tools will allow you to completely customize the look and feel of the form, including fonts, sizes, margins, images, colors, alignment, whatever you want, so that you can have the form match your corporate branding for the entire organization. So it should seamlessly have the same branding as any other material produced by your organization. The next tier of form tools have the following features. The first one is smart verification. What is smart verification? Most of us who are living and breathing in the Salesforce space are very familiar with two-step authentication, where we log into Salesforce with our username and password. If we're logging in from an unknown IP address, we log in with our username and password, and immediately we get either a text message or an email with a randomly generated number. We have to now cut and paste or re-enter that number onto the login screen in order to proceed further. That's two-step verification. Smart verification works just like that, but it's actually not two-step. It's just one step, where let's say a parent in a school accesses the form and searches for their record. They want to re-enroll their student, their child, in a school. So they get to a landing page of the form, and the first thing that they're asked is to enter in their email address. They go ahead, they enter in their email address. It searches the database in order to find their email address, and they don't have to enter in a password or a username. It finds their email address, they select it, and as soon as they select it, an email gets sent to their email address with a randomly generated verification code. The parent then opens up their inbox, opens up that verification code, and cuts and pastes it into the form. Once they do that, they can proceed further in the form. We've verified that the person completing the form, at the very least, has access to that email account, and they can now see the entire profile record for that contact that they search for. In other words, their own information. They can now see their first name, their last name, the mailing address, the phone number, etc., that the school has on record for them. And they can also see the related records. And I'll get to that more in a moment. The next feature I'm going to talk about is two-way Salesforce integration. And this is pretty exciting. So you can have a search box on your form that allows the web visitor, when they're looking at your form, they can enter in a value and they can search your Salesforce database to find all of the corresponding records that match whatever they put in the search criteria. Two-way Salesforce integration. The next item that I want to highlight correlates very closely to two-way Salesforce integration, but even takes it a step further. Multi-object lookup. So suppose I'm looking at a search box asking me to enter in an account name. So let's make believe for a minute that I am working as a soda distributor, and I am responsible for a couple of different supermarkets within the region that I'm responsible for. Once I land on the form, I can go ahead and search for, let's say, the account name that I'm looking for. I see the search results of all of the matching account names with their street addresses, their city, state, zip code, etc. I click on the appropriate one, and next I see all of the corresponding contacts or cases or opportunities associated to that account. Multi-object lookup, all completely on the fly. This is without giving the web visitor a long appended URL with all kinds of parameters at the end of it. The person simply visits the online form, does the query, and accesses all of this data. Having worked with many different form tools in the past, my favorite form tool by far is FormTitan. Why? Because FormTitan is the only tool that I am aware of that has all of the features that I just mentioned. If you are currently using any other type of form tool, I encourage you, try to build a form that has some of the features that I just talked about. Go ahead and give it a whirl, and let's see if you can do it. Right now, FormTitan is offering an incredibly generous perk to all Salesforce MVPs. Right now, all Salesforce MVPs can get FormTitan absolutely free. Personally, I think that once you use FormTitan, you will agree with me that this tool completely raises the standard of what we can expect from online forms, not only as Salesforce admins and Salesforce developers, but as consumers. Honestly, ever since I've been playing around with FormTitan and referring it to my own clients and building forms for them on FormTitan, every time I see another type of online form that I have to access, and let's face it, most of us on a day-to-day basis are filling out some type of online form. Whether you're on Amazon, you're signing up for a trade show, a newsletter, it happens all the time. And every time I do, I have one of two responses. Either it gives me some really cool ideas on how to make my own forms way better, or it makes me cringe. Why does it make me cringe? Because a lot of times, and I believe you're going to relate to this, a lot of times I go to a particular website where I'm filling out a form and I'm wondering, they have most of my information already. Why on earth do I have to fill out all of these fields all over again? And by the way, that's exactly what the two-way synchronization, the two-way integration does for you when you're building forms with FormTitan. On the fly, it will allow you to search the Salesforce database and pre-populate all of those fields without having a long but ugly URL that you have to give someone just to access a particular form. Anyway, enough rambling from me. You guys go ahead and take advantage of this MVP perk today. You can thank me later.